With the Conservative Party ahead in opinion polls, Boris Johnson's campaign to get Brexit done could prove election winning.
And we can get on with that deal.
Not just the promise of leaving by January the 31st, but with a trade deal too by the end of 2020.
So we get Brexit done.
More than 3 years after the UK's Brexit referendum, it is a beguiling timeline, but one that is viewed with rather less optimism by the EU side.
Look, it's for him, it's much easier to sell people this story. He knows the truth. He's clearly not telling people the full truth.
Sophie is a member of the European Parliament. She's fiercely anti-Brexit, but reconciled to what may lie ahead.
It will be very difficult. I mean, people often make the comparison with the negotiations we had with Canada for a free trade agreement. I mean, Canada is probably the most European country on earth. They're very close to us, and yet it took 7 years to negotiate a trade deal, and it still hasn't been ratified.
If Brexit does become law by January the 31st, that would leave just 11 months to complete a trade deal before the end of the formal transition period. If you thought negotiating the withdrawal agreement was tough, say Brexit watchers here in Brussels, you ain't seen nothing yet. There's talk of a brutal reckoning for UK negotiators as they get to grips with the future relationship, complete with uncomfortable compromises, prolonged uncertainty and yet more nail-biting deadlines to come. Boris Johnson insists there will be no further extensions, raising the prospect of no deal on future relations between Britain and its biggest trade partner.
We've already had several cliff edges in this process, and really we've got one coming up even before the end of next year, because there would have to be a decision normally on whether to extend the transition period in the middle of the year. So actually the time, the kind of respite that we would get, even if everything goes according to plan from the UK government side and Britain leaves on January 31st, that respite would be very short.
First of all, I wouldn't necessarily take his claims that he wouldn't extend at face value, because he also said that the UK would leave the EU on the 31st of October, come what may, and here we are. But I think concerning the trade relations, it's a bit like asking whether you can build a house in a week. Of course you can build a house in a week, but the question is what kind of house you're going to get and whether anyone is going to be very happy with the house.
It's an irony not lost on many that the oldest part of the European Parliament building in Strasbourg is named after Britain's wartime leader. Boris Johnson, if he wins, will need a strong dose of Churchill's fighting spirit if he's to get Brexit done, as promised. Jonah, Al Jazeera, Brussels.